My name is Anthony, and my childhood was anything but serene and peaceful. My life was very difficult. My father was consumed by alcoholism after our mother died of cancer. Every day was a struggle for him, and consequently for my sister and me. Our house was a place of constant tension and fear. At the time, I was 8 years old and my sister was 6. I remember we spent our days trying to stay as far away from him as possible. We played in our room with toy cars and trains, trying to create a fantasy world far from the reality that surrounded us. One day, while we were playing in the living room, my father staggered into the room. His expression was grim and his gaze fixed on us. He had a half-empty bottle in his hand and an angry look on his face. Without any warning, he hit me on the head with a slap so hard that I fell to the ground. "What are you brats laughing at?" he yelled, his words slurred by alcohol. My back burned from the belt blow he had inflicted on me shortly before. The pain was excruciating, but what hurt more was the feeling of being hated by someone who was supposed to love me. My sister tried to stop him, but he pushed her away with a brutality that made me shiver. His eyes were empty, devoid of any trace of humanity. Meanwhile, I was still on the ground with my face to the floor, saying nothing, and hoping he had had enough and would leave. But unfortunately, he hadn't had enough. And to make me remember the lesson, he gave me one last blow with the belt. But this time, instead of hitting my back, it struck my neck, and in an instant, everything went dark. It was at that moment that something extraordinary happened. When I opened my eyes, I saw a warm and enveloping light filling the room. I felt like I was floating, and in an instant, I found myself staring at a figure standing in front of me. It was a man with long brown hair and deep, compassionate eyes. He wore a white tunic, and around his head, an aura of light shone. His face emanated a reassuring calm. I don't know if it was Jesus or not. He didn't look exactly like the depictions of Jesus we have today in paintings or photos, but I will reveal more details about that figure at the end of the story. For now, I don't want you to lose the thread of the story, but I ask you to stay until the end because it's truly an inexplicable coincidence. This man continued to speak. "Do not be afraid," he said, with a voice that seemed to reach directly to my heart. "I am here to help you. You are not alone." I felt a wave of peace wash over me, and all my fears seemed to vanish. The man spoke to me for a long time, telling me about a future where I would be safe, surrounded by people who would love me. "Remember," he said, "the strength is within you. Do not let pain break you. You will become a strong man and learn to appreciate life one day." Then slowly, the light began to fade, and I found myself back in my bed with my heart full of hope. The next morning, I understood that school was my only refuge. The teacher was kind and caring. She always seemed to notice when something was wrong. One day, while we were working on an art project, she came up to me and asked if everything was okay. I hesitated, but she had already seen the bruises on my arm. Her eyes filled with concern, and she promised she would do something to help me. The teacher was the first person I confided in. She had a way about her that made me feel safe. I decided to trust her and tell her everything. Shortly after, my father was reported and sent to a rehabilitation center. He was removed from the house, and my sister and I were placed with a family that welcomed us with love. Our new home was full of warmth and affection. Our new parents treated us as if we were their children, and for the first time, I felt what it meant to be loved unconditionally. As I grew up, I found solace in writing. It helped me process the pain of the past and find a sense of peace. I wrote about everything, my experiences, my dreams, and that extraordinary encounter that changed my life. But I don't have the strength to publish anything. They are too personal and painful, and I don't know if I will ever be ready to forget my traumatic childhood. Later, fortunately, life was sweeter to me. I met a special person, Taylor, who became my support and guide. With her by my side, I learned to smile and look at life from a different perspective. A few years ago, I received the news that my father had died. He had never fully recovered from the death of our mother. My sister and I decided to return to the house where all those bad things happened to clear it of his things. A few years ago, I received the news of my father's death. He had never fully recovered from his inner demons. Together with my sister, we decided to return to our childhood home to clear it of the remaining items. It was a sort of closure ritual, a way to finally face the past. The house was like a museum of memories, each one seeming to whisper stories of pain and survival. The rooms, now empty and dusty, held the echoes of the screams and cries we had lived through. Every corner was imbued with memories we were trying to leave behind, but also fragments of childhood joy that timidly resurfaced. While rummaging through my father's things, among old books, yellowed documents, and faded photographs, I came across something that immediately caught my attention. In a corner, hidden among other items, was a small framed painting. Dust covered the glass surface, and instinctively I took it in hand to clean it. When I finally managed to see the painting clearly, my heart skipped a beat. It depicted a man with brown hair and deeply compassionate eyes, the same face I had seen in my vision many years before. The resemblance was striking, and I was immediately overwhelmed with emotion. It seemed that the encounter I had experienced was not just a dream, but something deeper and more real. I stood for a long time, staring at that painted face, trying to understand the meaning of that discovery. Then, as I turned it over in my hands, I noticed an inscription engraved on the back of the frame. The inscription read, "Gifted to the family in honor of their courage for saving a child from a burning house, to James in 1945. James was my grandfather's name. I read and reread those words, incredulous. The painting was a gift from the village, a thank you for my grandfather's heroism in saving a child from a fire years before I was born. As I connected the pieces of the puzzle, a new thought crossed my mind. What if the man I had seen in my vision was not Jesus, as I had always believed, but that child my grandfather had saved so many years ago? A child grown up, grateful for the gift of life received, who, at a critical moment in my existence, returned to repay the favor, to give me the strength to return and continue living. The awareness of this connection washed over me like a wave of warmth and gratitude. At that moment, I understood that this man had been a guide for me, a symbol of hope in the darkest moments. It was not just a dream, but a tangible manifestation of the impact my grandfather's actions had on other lives and how kindness and courage can spread over time. This discovery gave me a new sense of peace and understanding. It was as if a circle had finally closed, revealing to me the true meaning of that vision. The past, present, and future seemed intertwined in a way I had never imagined possible. With a heart full of emotion, I put the painting back in its place, knowing that I had received a precious gift, the awareness that life is woven with invisible threads of love and courage, and that every action, no matter how small, can have a lasting impact. As time passed, I found the strength to forgive my father for what he had done to us. The resentment I had felt for years dissolved, making way for understanding and compassion. My work as a translator led me to travel and meet extraordinary people. I met others who had experienced similar things to me, and together we found the courage to share our stories. Taylor and I got married and built a family full of love. I found joy in the small daily moments, in the laughter of my children, in the sunsets and sunrises I watched hand in hand with the woman I loved. Every day was a new beginning, an opportunity to appreciate the beauty that surrounded us and to create happy memories. Reflecting on everything that had happened, I realized that life was a precious gift. Despite the challenges and difficulties, each day was an opportunity to grow, learn, and find happiness. The experiences of the past no longer defined me, but they had made me the person I had become. But above all, I realized that human connection was the true treasure of life. Love, empathy, and the courage to help one another were the forces that bound us and allowed us to overcome any obstacle. I was grateful for all the people who had been part of my journey, each of whom had contributed to shaping my path. With an open heart and a confident mind, I looked to the future with hope and determination. I knew I would continue to write, share my experiences, and inspire others to find their inner strength. And I knew that, wherever my journey took me, I would always carry with me the most important lesson of all. Love is the thread that unites us and guides us toward the light. Thank you so much for following this story to the end. Please help me grow this channel. I invite you to leave a comment with the word Amen and share this video with your friends and family. Help us spread the message. They might thank you for doing so. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to stay updated on all our news. Thank you again for your time and support. God bless you. Regards, Jennifer.